Peter Gunn is a US Air Force vet, avid bodybuilder, coffee connoisseur, and poet who strives to bring epic poetry back from the past. Peter reinvents this narrative style in his masterpiece, The Amazons. Welcome to the Hybrid Author Podcast, Peter.
I'm happy to be here, Joanne. It's a pleasure.
We're absolutely honored and thrilled to have you. You seriously have achieved so much, but can you share with us and the audience, how did you come to be a writer?
Well, when I had my daughter, I wanted to enroll her into my love of literature. Of course, I'm sure a lot of parents do. I went immediately to the local libraries and bookstores to get the Odyssey, et cetera, et cetera. I realized, wait a minute, there's really not much written for the feminine. I mean, it's represented in those books, but it's not really a good light. Let's just say that.
That's a good cause and a good reason to start for sure. I'm not a poet myself. I'm a writer of nonfiction and fiction and things like that. So for many of our audience who maybe aren't sure what epic poetry is, are you able to elaborate on the definition of that?
Well, it's basically a lengthy narrative poem, ordinarily declaring your deeds that fits into the hero's journey. And for the ones that know what the hero's journey is, it's the common narrative structure that describes the path the hero takes, often involving a separation from their ordinary world, initiation into a new realm, and return transformed. It's widely recognized in pattern mythology, storytelling, and film, where the protagonist faces challenges, overcomes adversity, and ultimately returns with a newfound understanding.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have heard of the hero's journey before, and many of our listeners will as well, but I haven't really ever heard of it applied to poetry before. So that's really interesting. Yeah. Have you read a lot of it yourself? Epic poetry? It's something that you enjoy,
Oh
obviously.
yeah, I've read basically everything out there. I'd be hard pressed to say there isn't a poet I haven't at least read some of his work. Yeah.
Amazing. No, that's fantastic. Well, we're here to talk about your book, The Amazons. It not only tells a really powerful story, but revives this tradition of epic poetry. What do you think modern readers can gain from reconnecting with this ancient form?
A reconnection to our roots, where we came from. Perhaps a rekindling for the love of creative writing within themselves and feel inspired to take up creative writing on their own. I want to inspire the next generation coming up, so the Gen Z, Gen Alpha.
Amazing as well. And you said you got into this for your daughter's sake. Is it to be for her as well, to inspire for writing and things?
Yes, of course, of course. And I hope because she's doing very good in arts that she can become an illustrator for my books in the future.
Yeah, fantastic. I've seen the illustrations, the cover for the
Yes. Yeah.
What inspired that? Your cover is fantastic.
Well, I looked at a lot of artists and their artwork, but I think nothing quite embodied the hero's journey more than the comic artwork.
Mm.
Okay. And I felt that it also opened up more to the younger generation, the more accepting of it. I mean, in my opinion, it's a triple genre book. You could put it in the poetry section, but
Yeah.
you'd also put it in the comics or the manga section as well, and it'd still be accepted.
Have you got it in these categories, like in Amazon?
I have it in those genres, but of course, if it's the physical copies, they're usually only in the poetry section.
Can you tell us a bit about the book? Deep diving into your story, like how the Amazons?
Well, it's going to be a trilogy, if not more. So it's only just the beginning. A 109-year-old man on his deathbed tells a amazing story to his son about a time in his youth when he went into the Amazon on behest of the Queen of England to find gold. This was in 1806 during the Napoleonic War. I know they tried to cover it up, but they were bankrupt back then. So they were in dire straits for money. And there's also a lot of rumors going around that the king wasn't really running the show. The Queen was, Queen Caroline. And of course, what wife doesn't step in when their husband is down? They step in, but of course they had to do it incognito. So no one knew about this. It was all done on the down low, and it didn't turn out to be a disaster, but they lost a lot of lives in the way. But then he asked his son to go back and deliver a letter to one of the Amazons called Ivy that he met and fell in love with. And then he found out he had a sister. So it just starts from there.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. So the story will obviously expand over the next couple of books as well.
Yes.
And so you say this is just the beginning. How long has it taken for you to get this book one out?
Well, this one, because it's written in LLP, like lyrical poetry, about 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's time for me to write in that method. But it's also like tying one arm behind your back and then covering one eye in a way, because you can't necessarily write what you want.
Oh, well, that's incredible. How do you feel you could make the form kind of resonate today with, you said you want to inspire the next generation to,
Mhm.
take on this kind of writing? What would your advice be? What would you offer to writers interested in exploring this or reviving it? Because it's certainly the first time I've heard of it, but it sounds fantastic. It sounds up my street, actually.
Well, it's not a lost art. If I walk to any bookstore or library, those books are there waiting for you
Right?
guys. Okay. It's just no one has had the courage to take up the mantle and start writing a modern version
Mm.
because of its tie to nature. No publisher wants to hear that I took 2 days to write a paragraph. Now I can't put out immediate content. He's like, no, I don't want it. So there's craftsmanship there. People will pay for craftsmanship when they see it, but publishers don't want craftsmanship. They want pages upon pages of content.
And how has your publishing journey been with the Amazons?
It's been actually got into it. I've had to let go of a lot of editors. And I actually got to arguments with
Right.
one of the editors about the word unpursed. Now, he was right. It's 100%. It's not a word, but you and me understand 100% what it means. And I used it to keep the rhymes keep going. And then we got into arguments about that. And then I had to let him go. I mean, he's not the first. So I finally did find an editor I would be willing to work with me, but it's difficult. It's like standing behind, like Leonardo da Vinci and then criticizing one of his brushstrokes.
Yeah.
You don't like it, but it's a Leonardo da Vinci. It's with a brushstroke is what poetry is. It's art. It's a brushstroke on a page. That's what it is for all writing too.
So have you secured a team now? You're quite happy with the editors you've got moving on to the next book?
Oh, yes. And I've actually gone into music writing as well. And I have
Yeah.
a band. And I've discovered, quite surprisingly, that the LLP format makes beautiful music. So when I bring that into the music format, it's wow, the song just pops and it stands out. And so I've had to teach myself how to write music as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And our listeners will be treated to a piece of your music through your advert. What was the inspiration behind creating that? How did that come about? Was it the Amazons first and then you created the music piece, or did it come before? Which was first?
Well, when you're looking to advertise your book, especially like on TikTok, you can pick from pre-formatted things. You also are at risk of getting sued if you go too far with it by the creator. So then you got to come up with something unique that's all yours. So I sat down and I just started to write my own songs, but then using NLP and had to teach myself basic music notes. I got with a band out of Germany called Battleborn. They're very talented. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I sung my first song with them, and that's going to be in my graphic novel.
Fantastic. And a graphic novel, is that something obviously completely different to the
Yes.
trilogy?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
I have many things going on at the same time, so I'm juggling
like
many
it.
things.
Yeah, and even from your bio, you're into a lot of different things.
I mean, I'm a firm believer in it. A man is what he makes of himself. I'm not going to sit there and watch the game all day and just drink beer.
No, just coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what was the biggest creative challenge you faced while working with epic poetry, and what discoveries about the storytelling excite you the most?
Well, once you read it, you discover that I created my own poetic language, basically. A lot of people are amazed at that. I have about 30 voice actors that I've hired so far for the revamp of the Amazon's book. One of them, immediately after the introduction on the Zoom meeting, said, "How the F did you write this?" He said he got to the page 2 and he's amazed. He doesn't understand it because it's a different language.
Mm. Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest challenges.
And is that being quite well received, like being in a different language?
Oh,
Yeah.
Basically, people say it sounds like you're reading rap music.
Yep.
Because I've had to get rid of the rhyming pentameter that, A, B, but I've had to keep the rhymes flowing throughout the entire novel.
Yep. Amazing. And how has your marketing journey been with the book? Have you gone out and done many in-person events and things like that?
Yeah, for the most part, I've gone locally here in South Carolina and done speaking engagements. I do plan on starting online classes for LLP creative writing in the near future.
Can you elaborate what is LLP? Just so anybody that's listening
Okay,
can.
okay. It's the form that the Amazon has written. It's linked lyrical poetry.
Right.
Is what I call it. My
Yeah.
unique poetic language.
That's really clever because I'm sure people out there are going to be interested in that, especially if they read it. It sounds like something very unique and different. I haven't heard much of it either. Yeah. No, that's really
Well,
special.
it's one of those things where if people see craftsmanship, they'll buy it and put it on their shelf because it's unique. You know, no one else has done this. Whereas they'll put Harry Potter on their shelf because it's a great book, you know, but is the craftsmanship there? Is it any different than Tolkien's books? Is it any different than some of the other science fiction ones? So it's unique. I will
Mm.
say it's very unique.
And because you're doing graphic novels, it sounds like you're quite a visual person as well. Have you been able to visualize it all in your mind, your graphic novel?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I found it actually quite easy to write a graphic novel being a writer myself because as writers, we have visualized the entire book going scene by scene, do we not? So that basically you're writing the narration, but you're also writing what's going on in your head at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and of course, I can't do everything on my own. I've done some of the artwork for the graphic novel. I'd
Oh,
say by the time it's done, about 25% of it, but I've
wow.
had to hire a team of artists to
Mm.
help me.
Yeah.
So it would take forever to do because I'm plotting at least 150 to 200 pages by the time it's done.
It seems quite daunting, graphic novels. And yeah, I think every writer works differently, I guess. There is scenes and stuff, but some people can't visualize. And especially
I
like that,
know. I feel
the,
sorry for them.
yeah. Yeah. And obviously the imagery says a lot sometimes more than what the words do.
I get it for people that don't visualize or
Mm.
are less apt to pick up a book without pictures. There's information they need to know in books without pictures. So I'm going to bring information they need to know in a book with pictures.
Yeah. So the graphic novel, is that for adults as well?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely not for children
Yeah.
because it deals with very taboo issues that are going on behind the scenes as we speak in the government around the world. It's
Right.
basically different from the Amazon in that I took it from ancient Gnostic texts, like the Pizza Sophia, if
Mm.
you know what I'm talking about. And there are beings they talk about in those texts called aeons, Aeons, that are basically angels split in half, one male, one female. Okay. And then are put down to earth to do the work of God.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're down on earth right now at this time during Revelations. And then they're directed to then hunt down and take out the members of the deep state.
Okay.
So they're basically assassins for God.
Yeah. It was different. No, that's
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah. Yeah. It's very different.
And so with the trilogy of the Amazons, have you like almost, I guess, plotted out? Would you
In my
plot
mind,
it?
yes.
Do you
In
plot
my
or
mind.
yeah? Okay, because sorry, it's
Yeah.
poetry, so I just wondered
Mhm.
whether you plot. So are those books good to go? The next set in the Amazons?
Well, I'm hoping I'll be able to get the Amazons 2 finished by next year, hopefully.
Mhm.
Knock on wood.
Amazing. And do you publish? Who are you publishing through? Are you publishing through Amazon as well, or just using that as a
Yes.
platform?
Yes. Right now, because I stress to anybody out there that's an author, read the fine print. You will get lots of contracts put in front of you,
Mm.
but read that fine print because this is your baby, basically, and they're asking for ownership of your child. Okay. And you have to think about that a lot because you lose control. They could put it in a light or represent it in a way you don't like or agree with. Think about that.
Yeah. No, it
But the
sounds
great
like
thing about self-publishing is it allows us to have control.
you know what you want and how it's supposed to be and what you want to include
Oh,
and
yeah.
things like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think with traditional publishing, they've got their own agenda or their own idea. I was writing children's fiction for many years and I used to go to a writer's retreat and it's across on a little island here in Perth, Western Australia. Actually, it's happening next week through Squibby Society of Children's Writers.
Yeah.
They're global, the chapter here. One of the perks is that you get your work critiqued by a traditional publication. I used to get it critiqued and I remember one publisher said one thing, and then, I took that on board. I was quite new to writing and spent the next year kind of rewriting this and how they said, and then took that story again back to Rottnest the following year to have critiqued by a different publisher. And they said something different, and then the penny dropped, and I thought, oh, hang on, you're going to publish it one way, and this person's going to just do it another way. And I could change my work a million times. They're going to do it how they want at the end of the day. So, no, I completely get what you're saying there. With self-publishing and staying in control, and if you've got a vision and putting out your work as well. And Amazon's great. The quality is fantastic, I've found, with their print on demand as well. So
Yeah, it's great. I
yeah,
love
but
it.
your audio production with how many people did you say? 30 narrators?
So far, we've hired 30. There
Oh,
might be more. We're adding sound effects and a soundtrack at the end. So I think the listeners will be very pleased with the end result once we're finished with that.
wow. And how long has that taken, that whole process? That sounds
So far,
sounds like a
been six
headache.
months. Like I said, I have a lot of projects at the same time, but I have a very talented director slash producer called Andrea Giordani. And she's also a very good voice actress. And she's helped me immensely to get through all of the ins and outs of the business. And I think that's important as authors to get people on your team like that, that not only believe in your work, but are willing to help you.
Give advice and direction. No, that's great advice. I take it the 30 voice narrators, they record their parts, and then the producer's just mixing it all together or something like that with the sound effects.
As a director, you want to look at the context of the book. They need to be yelling it, they need to be angry, if they need to be happy. That's what the director is there for. And that's what you need, because unless you're going to do that all yourself as well. I mean, you're
Mm,
putting a lot of things on your shoulders as an author. And there's a point to where you have to say, okay, I need help.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely concur with that. That's for sure. So you shared some good advice already, but do you have any, other burning advice for aspiring authors or any authors looking to write, epic poetry or just self-publishing or anything in general?
I'm always reminded of that old saying, how to eat an elephant. And the answer to it is one bite at a time. Everyone sees the elephant, gets discouraged, and just walks away. But all you have to do is take one bite right now. And that's one paragraph of your book or one page of your book. You don't have to write the entire book right now. And you have to take that attitude, get a daily discipline, and just do a little bit every day if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's really good. I think I've heard of that one time, but not much. But yeah, no, it makes absolute sense. And I think it
Mhm.
is, people can get overwhelmed by the task at hand, and then it's almost a procrastination, isn't it?
They get discouraged. They just like, I can't do that, but you stop using that C word,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you can do it.
Oh, no. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Peter, for your time and expertise here. Our listeners would love to know, where can they find the Amazon and everything you do on and offline?
You can go to my website at www.petergunn.net. And you could also go to Amazon Kindle and type in Peter Gunn, the Amazon.
Fantastic. Well, that's great. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Joanne. I appreciate you letting me be here.